Oh my. IKEA cookware is cheap, but is it worth buying? To find out, I went to my local IKEA, browsed the massive cookware section, and bought their 3 most popular stainless steel pans. Then, over the course of months, I tested them against 28 other pans. I measured how fast and evenly they heat, how well they retain heat, their resistance to warping, how hot their handles get, and their overall durability. I also cooked a ton of food in each pan to see how they perform in different scenarios. Besides these tests, I also compared key specs like weight, thickness, cooking surface, handle length, and wall height. In this video, I break down the pros and cons of IKEA cookware. You'll find out if it's the best budget cookware on the market, or if there's a reason why it's so cheap. The 3 IKEA pans I tested are the 11-inch IKEA 365, which has a thick aluminum base with thin steel walls, the 11-inch IKEA Hemkomst, which has fully clad construction, and the 11-inch IKEA Sensuell, which is fully clad too, but it's much thicker and heavier. All 3 of these pans are significantly cheaper than brands like All Clad, Heston, DeMeyer, and Made In, but that doesn't mean they don't perform as well. For the first test, I heated each pan on medium and measured the center and the edge of the cooking surface after 2 minutes. Of the 31 pans I tested, IKEA 365 was the 3rd fastest to heat up, and even more impressive was that it had the 4th smallest gap in temperature between the center and the edge. In other words, this pan heats evenly. IKEA Hemkomst also performed well, ranking 10th for both speed and evenness. IKEA Sensuell heated slower than the other 2 due to its 4mm thick construction, but it still distributed the heat evenly. Next, I tested heat retention by heating each pan to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, removing it from the heat, and measuring the surface temperature after 5 minutes of cooling. Again, IKEA 365 performed very well, ranking 6th out of 31 pans. IKEA Sensuell came in 8th, and Hemkomst ranked 11th. I was so surprised by 365's performance that I ran the test again on a different day, and the temperature was only slightly warmer. So the first test wasn't a fluke. And in real-world cooking, the controlled test results translated. All 3 pans seared and browned meat really well, and the food cooked evenly across the surface. You don't need to constantly rotate burgers or chicken to get the outer pieces as brown as the ones in the center. Every meal I cooked came out well, and there was no noticeable difference in performance between these pans and much more expensive brands. However, I did notice one unusual thing. Before I get into that, I want to quickly thank Monarch Money for sponsoring this video. So I'm not someone who wants to spend a ton of time managing my finances. I just want to quickly know where things stand. And that's why I've been using Monarch Money. It's a private, ad-free personal finance platform, and it connects with over 13,000 financial institutions. So all of your bank accounts, credit cards, and investment accounts all sync into one clean dashboard. I check it maybe once a week, and it only takes a couple minutes. And the spending is broken out by category, so if something's creeping up, I can catch it. I can set specific budgets for things like groceries and restaurants, and I can track it with these simple progress bars so I know exactly where I stand. And if you ever want a quick answer about your finances, it has a built-in AI assistant that you can ask things like, how much did I spend on travel this year? And it gives you a straight and accurate answer. It's great for staying on top of your own finances, but if you and your partner share a dashboard, it makes having those money conversations so much easier. If you're ready to start your free trial, scan the QR code or click the link below. And when you sign up, use code PRUDENT50 to get half off your first year. So I mentioned noticing one unusual thing, and that has to do with the Sensuell handle. At one point, I grabbed it without paying close attention and almost burned my hand. This was surprising because most stainless steel pan handles stay relatively cool on the stove. So I did a little testing and measured the handle temperature after boiling water for 10 minutes. The IKEA 365 and Hemkomst handles stayed cool except for the first inch or so closest to the pan, which is normal. But with the Sensuell pan, almost half of the handle got extremely hot, starting around the spot where the handle starts to curve downward. The other issue I noticed was warping. The Sensuell wasn't completely flat on my cooktop. When I nudged the handle, the pan rotated slightly. It didn't wobble or spin like I've seen with other pans, but it also didn't sit perfectly flat. To see if this got worse under high heat, I tested all 3 pans on an induction cooktop at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 minutes. I measured the flatness of the bottom before and after heating. The Sensuell didn't get any worse, but it did make a loud buzzing sound on and off. The 365 and Hemkomst both had a slight concave curve, which means the center of the base sits slightly higher than the outer edge. This is common, and many brands build that small curve into pans so they flatten out as the metal expands. After the induction test, neither pan changed. So we knew that the price was good, and now we know that the performance is good. So what's the catch? Unfortunately, the biggest downside with these IKEA pans is the design, and the number one issue is the handles. With Sensuell, I mentioned the handle gets hot, but I'm also not a fan of the silicone grip on the bottom. It's functional, but on a stainless steel pan that could last for decades, I'd rather have an all-metal handle with no seams. The Hemkomst handle stays cool, but it's flat and uncomfortable. It doesn't rotate when you tilt the pan, which is good, but the edges dig into your palm. It reminds me of the handles you see on a lot of carbon steel pans. But the worst handle by far is IKEA 365. It's basically a thin, hollow piece of bent metal with an open end and a visible seam. Water gets inside when you wash it, and then it squirts out the other end. The tip of the handle is also sharp. It's not sharp like a knife, but it's sharp enough that it digs into your hand if you grab the end. When I scraped it across a piece of cardboard, it cut right through. I also noticed the handle could bend pretty easily if I wiggled it back and forth. The rivets themselves felt secure, but the handle and the thin sidewalls of the pan flexed much more than usual. To check the durability, I flipped the pan over, applied upward pressure to the handle, and it bent right off. And while I was looking at the broken handle, it snapped off completely, the pan fell on the floor, and the sidewall dented. To be fair, the handle probably won't break off during normal use, but the amount of force it took was way less than I expected. Besides the handles, Hemkomst doesn't have flared rims, so when you pour oil or sauce, it tends to drip down the side. It also has slightly shorter walls than average. And the 365 and Hemkomst both have 3 rivets instead of 2, which gives you 1 extra spot where grease and food can collect. I do like how the Sensuell pan has sealed rims. Most stainless steel pans leave the aluminum core exposed around the edge. And over time, that aluminum can recede, causing the steel layers to become sharp or even separate. Because of the sealed rims, that's not an issue with this pan. The Sensuell pan is also the 3rd thickest and 3rd heaviest pan I tested, which is great for heat retention, but it also makes the pan harder to lift, clean, and move around. So after all that testing, is IKEA cookware worth buying? The short answer is yes. The 365 outperformed pans that cost hundreds of dollars in my controlled testing, and that performance carried over to real cooking. The Hemkomst performed well too, and the Sensuell has the heft of a cast iron skillet, but without the rust, seasoning, and maintenance. However, I just can't get past the handles. The 365 handle is too flimsy and has a sharp end, the Hemkomst handle is uncomfortable, and the Sensuell handle gets hot and has a silicone grip that I don't love. This may seem like nitpicking, but stainless steel cookware can last for decades, so you should love the design, the feel, and the little details that you deal with every time you cook. If the handles don't bother you, IKEA is an excellent value. But if they do bother you, you should look for other options, and the best place is this video where I give you rapid fire reviews of the top 31 stainless steel frying pans. And for more videos like this, click the logo to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.